DJ Ferris.
The Chicago, nigga.
It's the real one.
Hit me.
Only one is pulling shit the fuck up.
Let's get a sports talk.
Chris Paul said after a big win, some people are built for this. He pointedly did not mention James Harden or Russell Westbrook. When he was traded for Westbrook and Harden and he obviously weren't getting along or he'd still be in Houston. Right. And he shouts out Dame Lillard. And everyone smells it on Dame. Like, that dude is, you want him under pressure. And coach, everyone, I always have the same feeling about Chris Paul. Like, he's like Larry Brown's platonic ideal of a point guard, right? Like, he's perfect. But, coach, he's been on a lot of good teams. And he's played in a conference finals once where he got hurt with the Rockets. And otherwise gets bumped always by the second round. Is he sliding a little bit? We said that Marcellus Wiley threw Max Marcellus in LA on the radio.
He's not sliding because he's not relying on his athletic ability. He's a floor general point guard. He don't have to rely on being athletic. Like, his leadership would make his team good. Right now, he's with a young team. And you see what he done with them. He got them to the playoff and become the 5th seed. He ain't sliding. It's like he getting better by age. Like, so he still gonna play a few more years in this league because if he was relying on being athletic, and then you can see him slide a little bit because that's his bread and butter. But he don't have to worry about that, doing that, because he's a different type of point guard. He's a floor general, so he don't have to worry about all that. So he can play a few more years, a few more good years. Yes, he's been on some good teams. You know, he's not sliding.
Radio, you say, Chris Paul's wearing that championship cologne, but he doesn't have the resume deep in the playoffs to back that up. What are your thoughts of Chris Paul's futility bringing the team deep into the playoffs?
Well, I think that's too much to ask of him now. I think, what he did with that OKC team was something to marvel at in itself. No one had OKC doing anything this year. And I really think that it's clear that he galvanized that young team to play at a high level and really to push a talented Houston roster, with arguably the best player in the league, to 7 games. And he was in the mix of...
Yes, they pushed them to 7 games. That lets you know how he got this team playing. It's all about your locker room presence and your presence on the floor. He's a leader off the court and on the court. When they put the camera on him, you see he coaching them up and telling them where they need to be at the right spots. And you see they following his leadership. And that's why this team ended up in the playoffs. Had the opportunity to go to the second round. What caused them? It was just mistakes. It's a young team. It's going to happen. But with Chris Paul sticking around with them, they ain't going to continue growing with him on the team. And once he's not playing with them anymore, you go see the difference of their growth because they see how he led them.
Of why they were there. And so I think right now for Chris Paul, who I put up there as maybe some people may not rank him top of this or all-time this. What I do think he is all-time competitor. He is one of the all-time great competitors. What I think he needs now is he needs to find a roster that's built to take the next step, that already has the veteran talent, superstar talent, that can, that he can just plug into and then get them over the hump. But make no mistakes about it, his performance and his level of impact is still extremely high. And I would love to have a guy like that on my roster because, every night he's going to try to give you a chance to win, whether it's with his mind or with his body.
No doubt he's one of my favorites that way all time. But, Coach, I still, look, if he was a little better, he'd have win more playoffs, like I hate to say it, but you're right. He hasn't been on great teams except for maybe that one Houston team that could have gone all the way, but then he got hurt. But he's been on a lot of good teams that have underperformed expectations in the playoffs, including that Clippers team.
Could he be around players that don't put their egos to the side? Instead of understanding what he's trying to teach you, they let that stuff get in the way, and you see every day is a downslide because they not seeing eye to eye. That Clippers team could have went deep in the playoffs and made the finals. It was just egos on that team. Everyone wasn't here. Everyone wanted to be here instead of just understanding how he leads the team. That's all. Bump heads, and that team got to break up.
Blake Griffin and DeAndre Jordan, when they were good, and they had a pretty good supporting cast too. And at a certain point, the feeling you have about him, and I have about him, and anyone who watches Chris Paul has about him, is not being backed up by the playoff performances of his team.
Yeah.
You know, he's the leader.
Well, I think that's fair, but if you look at the teams that they ran up against most of the times in the playoffs throughout his tenure, he usually ran up against a pretty substantial opponent. It wasn't like they were just getting, upset in the playoffs and, losing the teams they weren't supposed to lose to and things like that. And I think, let's be real about it, he doesn't pull his hamstring in that Houston Golden State series. That's very easy. That's Houston's in the finals. And so,
they win. They win the whole thing.
He's there. And so I just think he has some bad luck. In certain circumstances, and he got beat by better teams most of the times.
And I know it's a team game, and I know I'm oversimplifying, but I think about, from a boxing background, I think about Jerry Quarry, this heavyweight contender from the 70s. He was excellent, and people are...
He needs to be around a team that's ready to win the finals now, that can use a floor general point guard like Chris Paul. Have him in your locker room and have him on the floor will make a hell of a big difference. He need to be around someone that's around his presence, that understand what he's trying to accomplish before he retires, is win a championship. This team he on now is just young. They build it towards something for themselves, because once he off the team, now it's up to them how they lead themselves. He need to be with somebody like the Clippers, Lakers, like Milwaukee, if Giannis still there. He needed Miami. He need to be around those types of teams that's ready to win now.
He just had the bad luck of being in an era with Ali and Frazier and Foreman. And that's true. But if he were a little better, he'd have gotten a title at some point. The problem was he wasn't quite good enough. Like, as great as Chris Paul is, he's not LeBron James. And truth be told, he's not quite James Harden.
He led the season in clutch points. That lets you know that he still have something left in the tank. If he lead the season in clutch points, like clutch performance this season. Yes, he ain't no LeBron, but it's all about what type of team you put around Chris Paul. And you put him around a player that's willing to sacrifice some things, you can see the team move forward and have a successful playoffs. But when you dealing with certain players that have an ego, and then he kind of have his, they're not going to be here. They're not going to be 50-50. And that's why you see he's not in Houston right now. Him and James Harden can't play together anymore. Because he need a basketball in his hands sometimes, but James Harden need a basketball in his hands majority of the time. But you see James Harden, he's sacrificing and letting Westbrook had the basketball in his hands. It was just an ego thing with them. That's all it was. If they would have seen eye to eye, that you could have seen Houston potentially get back to the Western Conference Finals. Potentially could have went to the finals. If he wouldn't have got hurt, he should have been in the finals. It's all about the luck, the bad luck he had.
Either, and if that's going to be your max contract player, then you need another max contract player at least as good as him, or you're probably not going to win.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live